Welcome to Synergi's executive podcast series, the first BPO-led discussion platform in the region, where we explore how leadership, strategy, and operations come together to drive real business impact. Today, I'm pleased to host Ibrahim Lahhoud, the Director of Academy and Strategy at Brand Lounge. Ibrahim, welcome to our podcast today.
Pleasure to be here.
Can you tell me a little bit about you and your role at Brand Lounge?
Okay, so basically I'm a brand strategy consultant. I've been doing this for quite a while now, over 3 decades. At Brand Lounge, I was basically the head of strategy and insights, but recently we just started our academy. So we're bringing 20 years of experience, award-winning experience to the market. And we want to teach, actually educate the market on everything we do, how we do it, and why it's beneficial. And now my current role is the head of Academy and Insights, and I'm totally dedicated to build the right frameworks to educate corporates, academia, startups, small and medium businesses on what really branding is and why investing in a brand always is a winner.
That's very interesting, Rahim, because usually, from what I know, agencies or companies, they try to withhold all the knowledge, all the experience that they have. Yet you opened that academy, and you're willing to share this information. That's a very bold move. What made you do that? What was the reason behind it?
Look, when you look at the market and you see sometimes a lot of gaps where people really don't understand the power of brand and branding. So first of all, I need to separate brand and branding. You know, brand is something and branding is something totally different. Brand is a much bigger universe. It entails really positioning, business, innovation, culture, internal culture, and everything. Branding, in a way, is the application of all of this.
True.
So this is something very important. Number 2 is that we've been using our philosophy for the past 2 decades, and it's been doing great. We know that bringing that philosophy to the market today, one will elevate the way marketeers, chairmen, CEOs, company owners start understanding, elevating that understanding of how a brand functions, which is very important, that it's always strategy-based. Now, it's a loop at the end. The more you give, the more you earn. So we're looking at elevating the market because we believe that competition is becoming much fiercer.
Oh, for sure.
Products and services are not anymore key competitive advantages. Everybody's selling the same. What's left?
Yeah.
How you position yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why we think by bringing this to the market, can elevate that market. Another very important issue is that we're talking to academia. We want the next generation to graduate with a strategic thinking in mind. And this is something that does not exist today in educational institutions. Technically, nobody teaches branding. And for us, this is very important. The future generation is the one that will lead the market, and we want them to lead on solid base.
Speaking of good brands, what do you think define a good brand versus, just a brand that came in, succeeded few years, and then was faded away? And what do you think businesses do different, whether on the front line or in the back functions, to build that strong brand?
Excellent question. This is the question we always try to ask our clients. I'll summarize it in one sentence. I always tell clients and prospects whenever we sit with them, you own the product, you own the service. You don't own your brand.
Your brand is owned by your consumer.
The market owns your brand. Okay, so this is where it starts playing. It's about perception. So it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant how good you are or how good you are. What's relevant is how you are perceived.
Correct.
Okay, and a lot of organizations fail because they had amazing products, but failing perception. Okay, On the other hand, a lot actually succeed because of the right perception with sometimes quite cheesy products. But
So what's
that's
the
good.
reason of that gap between what the brand owners think their customer perceive and the actual perception? Where does this gap come from?
The gap comes from, I don't know, I think the best word I can use is arrogance. Okay? When you start admitting that perception is everything, when you start admitting that I don't own my brand, I need to build a brand for the people,
Yeah.
a lot will start changing.
Yeah.
But when you get stuck with your own misconceptions, that's what I want, that's what I want to do, that's what I want people to think, it's not going to work. You know, it's very organic. It's a synergy between what your brand represents beyond product and profit. And I
Yeah.
need to insist on this. When we develop a brand purpose, it answers a big question. Why do you exist as a brand? And why do you exist beyond products, beyond profit? So when Tom's gives a free pair of shoes to the poor every time you buy a pair of shoes from Tom's, that's beyond product and profit.
Correct.
No? And this is what changes everything. So when I give people a reason to love me before giving them a reason to buy from me, then purchase will become much more natural.
This is so right. And Ibrahim, you talked about brand purpose. From your experience working with leadership and working with high profile clients, how do they make sure that the brand purpose is actually influencing operational directions rather than just marketing?
We make sure a lot.
Okay.
Basically, it's a cycle, okay? And the clients we work with are very, very aware of how that cycle needs to function. So a purpose is not a statement. A purpose is not vision. It's not mission, okay? So let's not confuse those.
Okay.
A purpose actually works the way we work. A purpose is around two pillars. We call them contribution and impact. So what are you contributing to the market? And then what's the impact of that contribution on the market? And that starts by changing everything, because if you want to create an impact from that contribution, you need to rally the entire organization, which works on culture. So how do you rally your teams internally to love, to act, and to know your brand, and how it bleeds externally? Then we look at how you are innovating. So what
Correct.
are you doing better than your competition? How do-
Raising that bar high.
raising the bar? Absolutely. Even image plays a major role when
Yeah.
it comes to portraying the purpose, because it's a direct reflection of who you are and what you stand for. But it all starts with leadership,
Yeah.
and then it trickles down. If leadership is not aligned with the purpose, if leadership does not act on that purpose and give the good example to everybody else, then there will be a lot of gaps down the line. And that's how brands erode. They start amazing, and then a lot of erosion starts happening because there is no alignment down the line.
And do you see leaderships at most time fulfilling that philosophy, or you see actually the problem starts there with them?
Definitely the problem starts there.
Yeah.
Okay, but it ends there too. I mean, you
Okay.
have the good leaders and you have the not so good leaders.
Sure.
Okay, but leadership needs to understand that your role transcends financial, transcends business, transcends board meetings. Your role is to lead. So you need to ask the question, what am I leading? Am I only leading products and services? Am I leading profit, or am I leading people and markets? And the entire answer has to be aligned by what you decided as a reason to exist, which is your purpose. And that's what basically drives everything. What's your story? We know people love stories. People buy stories.
True. That emotional connection
Absolutely.
they have with the brand, that's what matters.
Absolutely. You know, and sometimes even little stories that we hear create that kind of connection with the brand.
What's the most brand that you like?
Apple. I'm an Apple freak. Everybody knows that. Nobody dares to talk about Apple in front of me.
Why do you like it so much?
Okay, look, it started a long time ago. I worked with Apple in the Middle East for 7 years. And I owe Apple everything I know about strategy and branding. Okay, so I came from an advertising background, which was the micro. And Apple taught me the macro. Okay, they had a very powerful philosophy that ended up by telling people that we don't sell phones and tablets and computers. No,
We sell a story.
we sell stories.
And status.
And absolutely. And we ask you to think different. You know, the first slogan of Apple when they launched was the computer for the rest of us. And that's beautiful. It immediately brought Apple down to the level of people, which actually elevated Apple up to the status it has today. Okay? And look at their communication. They rarely communicate, and when they do, it's just one word on a white background. I mean, this is amazing when one word can say a lot.
And the confidence they have in the brand, how, they don't have to put the name out there on their stores. They know that sleek, nice, white design, it belongs to, they own that space.
This is beautiful.
This is a dream come true for every brand, I think, out there to reach that positioning level.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. The best example I can give you, whenever we say Apple today, nobody thinks of the fruit, which is the most common fruit on earth. You say Apple, everybody looks at the computer company.
Or the phone,
I mean, I think this is the best proof of concept.
Yeah, so good. Tell me a little bit, like when we talk marketing, obviously this session is about marketing, but marketing is not a solo department and it cannot run on its own. It has to work with everybody else in the organization. When it comes to operational efficiencies, some of the companies nowadays, they started believing in the BPO and the outsourcing for better scaling, for efficiency. How do we make sure from us as marketeers and from a marketing perspective, we ensure the brand guidelines, we ensure that brand essence is still saved, is still not intact or destroyed along the way?
Marketing is a function, okay? And to your point, it can never be an independent function.
True.
Okay? Marketing is not about, hey guys, let's come up with a crazy idea and win an award. Okay? Marketing is about bringing everything a brand stands for to life. Okay? Marketing is not about advertising a sale. Marketing, we always say a brand is about being, a marketing is about doing. Okay? So what is marketing doing as an integration within the entire brand universe? And that's why I said in the beginning, I differentiate between brand and branding. So marketing is one of the functions of the brand itself, okay? And it plays a very important role because this is the biggest touch point between the hidden part of the brand and the audience. That's where the rubber touches the road. So a lot of responsibility falls on the marketing's back. How are we handling this? Okay? So we see a lot of marketeers getting lost between strategy and tactics. Okay? Social media is a tactic. It's not strategy. Okay? So what's the strategy that made you take the decision to go into a specific social channel or not? Into going into a specific activation or not? That's what we call on the brand level the strategic implications. So when you develop a brand strategy, it commands implications. If I want to bring that strategy to life, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, I will fail. One or more actually of the most important implications relate to how marketing is going to bring the brand to life. Okay? So if we go back to Apple or any successful brand, take Starbucks. Okay, we're naming brands now. Starbucks does not sell coffee anymore. Okay, although it's Starbucks coffee, but Starbucks is more today about conviviality. Okay, it's about bringing people together. It's what they say is the third place between home and office, home and work. Okay, that's a beautiful marketing function that brings the brand positioning to life. Okay? So marketing is a very important strategic role, but marketeers and brand strategists within an organization need to talk together. And they need to strategize together on what's the positioning, what are the implications, how can I apply those implications? Because marketing budgets don't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay? And the purpose of spending a budget is return on investment, not an award. Okay? So we need to really start thinking about what am I going to do? How much is going to cost me? How much am I going to get in return to the brand, not only to the pocket?
That's the struggle today. Leaders keep telling you, okay, I'm investing X amount. What is my return on investment? But most of the time they fail to understand that these investments, they are long-term, they are building the brand. You cannot immediately see its return. You cannot quantify it dollar to dollar in sales. So how do you deal with leaders like this, with organizations where you have to, because any other function, yes, you hire people, they give you a job, they give you the work, their hours. You can quantify kind of their ROI. But when it comes to marketing, it's a little bit more difficult, in my opinion. What do you think?
It is. It is in general. But when you start swapping return on investment for return on brand, this is where you can start seeing the change happening. So again, most of the time we forget the top tier level, which is the brand, and we come down to the marketing part and look at return on investment for marketing. But we need to understand what's the return on the brand from the marketing effort. Selling.
You mean as a brand equity?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. I mean, if I want to define, which I love the fact that you brought equity. If I want to define brand equity in layman's term, in the easiest terms possible, it's about what people think of a brand over time against competition.
And loyalty, obviously.
That's over time. So how much do I love Apple over time versus everyone else? Okay. I gave you my answer already. Yeah. So how do we create consumers like me for other brands? And this return on brand, building this kind of loyalty, this is where return on investment starts showing. So when Apple advertises 1 million times less than all the other competitors, yet leads the market on specific products, think about it. You spend less, you make more, and you have free walking advertising.
Correct.
Okay?
And to achieve that, it's not, again, a marketing function only, because imagine the whole value chain of the business.
Yes.
Imagine their customer service is failing. Imagine the package was delivered late.
Yes.
Imagine all that hiccups, all the other rest of the departments. If they do not work in the same philosophy and the same strategy, they do not have that common vision, the brand will never reach to
Totally
its
agreed,
goal.
Sula. Totally agreed. And again, these are the gaps that brand owners don't look at. You know, and you know the famous saying, a chain is as weak as its weakest link.
Correct.
Okay? And that weak link can make or break a brand. And history has proven that. You know, so again, for example, when we work on any brand, we work on we call them the 4 dimensions.
Okay.
Purpose, innovation, culture, and image.
Okay.
And these 4 are not pure hazard. They make a lot of sense. And they are a cycle, irrelevant of how you put them, provided purpose is always first. But these are part of a very important cycle. When you step into a shop today of a famous luxury brand and the salesperson is not polite to you, you're not going to insult the person. You're going to insult the brand itself. Okay? So each and every aspect, however minute it is, plays an important role in building the equity of the brand. We always say brand strategy first, business strategy next. That makes a lot of clients nervous. But think about it. The brand is going to define how you're going to do your business. And a lot of people don't believe in that. But trust me, that's how it works. Once you define why you exist, then you build a business to serve it. You cannot start a business and say, okay, what are we going to do with it now? It doesn't work this way.
Going back to, I have a logo and my branding is ready.
Yeah.
Going back to the question of when a brand or when a business decides to bring in BPO providers, so in your opinion, what are the risks that leaders should try to avoid in order not to reach the level of, failing with the brand or not being aligned with the purpose of the brand?
Totally. Choose carefully. And don't let your choice be defined by the bottom line, by the money. Definitely.
Don't go with the cheapest.
Exactly. I mean, financials definitely play a role. We understand this. We are in business and we know how important it is to align things with your budgets. Okay. But aligning things with your budgets versus running for the cheapest to say, that's totally different. When you bring in advisors or consultants or providers from any walk of life, you made the choice to assign something you don't know to someone who does.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you either bring somebody they really understand how to do their business about something you don't know well, or you're going to both fail. So bringing the right people, it's like going to the doctor.
Yeah.
You don't know. You know what's hurting you, but you don't know the cause, you don't know the cure. You need to go to a good doctor because a good doctor can technically cure you or, God forbid, kill you. Okay? The same thing happens when you go for BPOs. They can make your business thrive or technically kill it for you.
How much do you have to trust your BPO provider? How much do you let go of that control, of that, micro management?
Yeah.
And do you think it depends actually on the provider?
It does.
If
I mean,
they're positioning themselves as the expert, the right partner for you, maybe you let go.
Look, it's the best example I can give you is human relationships.
Yeah.
If you live with your partner not based on trust, the relationship's going to die very soon. And it's going to be very awkward going down the line. But you made the right choice. You found the right partner. You vetted that partner. And then you created that solid relationship. The same thing happens with your advisors, with your BPOs. It's really finding the right one and building a very closely knitted relationship because they need to know everything about you and you need to know everything about them. That's the only key to succeed. If you hide things or if you hire somebody to tell them what to do,
why do you need them
in the first place? And if you hired someone because they're cheaper, it's on you.
Correct.
Okay? Everything comes with a price. Yes, there are overpriced and there are underpriced, but everything comes with a price.
Amazing. We even were talking earlier about you bring in an advisor or an external and then you don't tell them half of the story. You let them discover and you let them and you wonder later on probably why they're not doing a good job. So you're right, transparency is key in that.
Absolutely. I mean, advisors, usually real professional advisors, come in with a lot of questions. Okay, and we always tell people it's not about the answers, it's about the right questions. Asking the right questions. That's where it really hurts, but that's the only way to cure. So if you hide things from me, I'm going to work only on the data that I know. And if there is any other crucial element that was not revealed to me, somewhere down the line, it's going to make a negative impact. Okay? And that's why going back to the concept of relationships, I think that's the most beautiful thing that can happen with a client and a BPO. We work very hard on building relationships at Brand Lounge before we work hard on building brands. Because we believe that solid relationship is going to make both of us open up to each other. And that's the best key to success usually.
And that's what sets a company or a partner apart from the rest of the companies. It's not like you're coming in for a certain project, you finish it, thank you very much. You're there, you're building trust. Your client is your friend. He calls you whenever he needs you. You're there for them. It's not anymore a question of quotation and pricing and it's just a business.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, where businesses succeed versus they don't.
Yeah. I mean, as an advisor, you are part of the success.
Yeah.
I mean, let's think about it. It's the more your clients succeed, the more you succeed. And that's how business goes. Business is not built only on numbers. It's built on success factor. Okay? And for us, building that relationship is always a win-win. And it's crucial for both businesses.
Yeah. Nowadays, we've seen that businesses, it's not even enough for them to stay in one market. They want to grow, they want to scale, they want to expand from UAE to Saudi, from Saudi to multiple countries. How do leaders make sure that they maintain that brand promise when it comes to operational scaling, especially in the case where they want to work with BPO providers?
Yeah. Well, again, this is where choosing the right BPO becomes very important. Exposure, knowledge across markets, how familiar they are with scaling businesses, with understanding the power of a brand architecture, how to build the right portfolio. Because at the end, brands are like a rubber band. Okay? You stretch it too thin, it will snap. And usually most businesses snap when they stretch too thin across markets and they have a business that was not built solidly enough to stretch.
With a strong foundation.
Exactly. And that's why we tell them the only way to thicken that rubber band in order to really stretch it more is building the right brand, because it all sits on the solidity of that brand. So when you have a famous fast food chain going global, it's going global because of the name it built, not the product. Okay? And that power is actually what made the rubber band thick enough to be able to stretch it globally. But if you come and say, oh, I love the idea, I'm sure it's going to work in Saudi Arabia, that's, coffee talk.
Yeah.
How are you sure it's going to work?
Again, there has to be proper study, strategy.
Exactly.
Because when it comes down to operations and on the ground, things are completely different than building and talking behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
And here is where chaos starts.
Absolutely. And actually, chaos can get more dangerous when we don't look at expanding as a long-term future prospect. It's not a now thing. We live in a world today, and that sentence became so cheesy, but unfortunately it's true. We live in a world that's moving so fast that by the time you finish planning, you need to start planning again because it has changed totally.
Yeah.
So how do we get smart enough to be flexible enough to understand that the brand has to navigate through storms, not only through rivers and lakes? Okay? The stronger your brand is, the more it will survive, because it will feed your products and your services and your presence in the market and your communication. And that's your biggest safety net. The biggest safety net is the brand, not the product. If you have a product that fails once down the line, somebody will tell you, I love this brand. It's okay. It happens. I'll never, I'm going to stick to that brand.
Yeah.
A bad product can happen sometimes. It's the brand that actually acts as your safety net. That's what allows you to expand. But again, going back to what you asked, finding the right BPO is not an easy task. I'm not saying, definitely it's not. It's very hard. And that's why you need to do the right due diligence to really vet the right one. And again, it's not about the bottom line. It's about everything else, actually.
And the trend nowadays is that companies are being convinced more and more that from a even cost-saving perspective, or from bringing in additional experts and knowledge from outside, it's healthier for the brand and for the business to outsource certain functions.
Yeah.
It's not anymore the old mentality of, I want to keep everything in-house. I want to control the work, the knowledge. And a true example of the academy that Brand Lounge is making,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're leading it today.
Yeah.
And how successful do you think this is going to be? Like, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because bird's eye views are the best tools to success. So when you bring an outsider, a professional, knowledgeable outsider, they have that bird's eye view on your business. You are confined inside that cocoon of yours, and all you can see are the four walls around you as a company and as a brand. When you bring somebody from the outside, they have a totally different take. Okay, and that take can change a lot of things you know or did not know about your business. You know, but definitely it's about working together. So for us, for example, we always work on something we call co-creation. We never do anything ourselves, ever. Everything,
Together, always
everything
with
is
the
driven.
client.
Everything. It's all workshop based, interview based, ideation based, meeting based. And we tell our clients, we will not create your brand positioning. Nobody knows your business better than you do. We need to do this together. So failure is zero when you work together. If you bring somebody from the outside because they're great and tell them, okay, go do your work, or you bring somebody from the outside and you tell them what to do, it's not going to work. Okay? So success is really a game of minds, and how those minds are willing to listen to each other, take criticism, face things the way they are, not turn your back to them. And sometimes the truth is harsh, but looking at the harsh truth and fixing it is better than,
Yeah.
letting it fail.
But there is a thin line here between if I'm a client and I am not an open-minded client, yet I'm bringing an expert from outside, I want that expert, that consultant, the advisor, whatever you want to call it, to do the work. I'm
Yeah.
paying you to do 1, 2, 3. Come back to me with a full-fledged strategy or whatever plan that I want you to do. Yet you have the open-minded client where, yes, let's do this together because I know my business, I know my brand as much as you're an expert,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
know it more than you. I know my vision, I know my goals, I know who's my real target audience. So that's the challenge and the
It
gap
is.
of identifying that client sits in which corner,
Yeah,
the open-minded or
yeah.
not an open-minded.
Look, honestly, it's a game of psychology.
Yes.
Uh,
We're all psychologists
in
here
in a way,
nowadays.
in a way, we all are actually. Yeah, I mean, psychology is definitely a science, but every time you sit and look at someone and try to really understand what they're thinking, even if you fail, that's psychology. Every close-minded client is close-minded for a reason. So if we refuse to look at that reason, it's not going to work. You need to understand, why is this leader close-minded? Either they're surrounded by the wrong teams. Either they've been through a lot, mostly like when we talk about family businesses, they've been through a lot and they worked so hard to build what they have at hand and they're afraid of losing it. There are a lot of reasons. It's really breaking the ice starts by understanding those reasons. We have been faced with clients like that. And it always started like, I want this and I want that. Most of the time we succeeded at breaking the ice and building an amazing relationship. So it's not about, oh no, we don't do this, and the client telling you, you do it or we don't work together. It's not about that. Again, it's asking the right questions. So we try to understand the fear, try to deal with that fear. And most of the time it actually works and clients feel relaxed. Look, Sula, it's very important when you bring a BPO, let's say you're a bank and you're bringing an external advisor. First thing they want to know, what do these guys know about banking?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
they're brand consultants. Okay, they write nice strategies and do nice logos. What do they know about banking? 1. 2, what do they know about my bank? How can I trust somebody, even if you tell me they're amazing, how can I trust them to deal with such a strategically vertical industry and deal with an institution like mine that's been around for 20 years carrying people's money? These are legitimate questions.
Correct.
We understand that. an advisor that does not understand the fear, an advisor who sits with a client that does not fear anything should be worried, actually.
Of course, they're even the advisor, they're too arrogant to
Exactly.
think that they can win any business without being
Exactly.
questionable
Exactly.
about why are you the right partner
Exactly.
for me or
Exactly.
not. And again, it goes back to choosing the right BPO provider versus not the right one.
Absolutely. And talking to each other.
Be just humble, show your
Absolutely.
expertise, show your experience. Say if you don't understand the industry, say I don't understand
Yeah.
that. However, I can advise on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we don't need to understand every industry. We need to understand our industry. So if I'm a brand consultant, I need to understand brands extremely well. This is the platform upon which I can build my understanding of every industry. So my understanding of brand consultancy gives me the right tools to dig, research, and understand banking, hospitality, defense, you name it. The base is always the same. It's like business. The base of a business, of any business, is the same. The components, they're all the same. It's like Lego. It's what you want to do with them. What you want to do with them is based on the idea that you have. And that's how I want to shape the basic components of a business DNA into something that I want to do. Brand consultancy is the same. The base is there. Every brand consultancy will tell you the same. Positioning, purpose, building the right culture, developing the right image, focusing on innovation. The components are there. Now, you build them in a way to fit finance or hospitality. And that's easy when you know the base well. That's what we try to tell our customers, but customers need to feel confident about what you're saying and how you're bringing
deal
this.
With people at the end
Exactly.
of the day. And
Absolutely.
if they don't connect with you as Ibrahim, as Sula, how are they going to trust the whole organization?
Absolutely.
And again, we go back to being psychologists, and try to connect well with that person and see at which ground we can be, at one point like friends. And that's one point I've discussed it on LinkedIn in one of my topics, that how close is good enough for you to be close to your client without, crossing that line, and how far you have to be. It's really a thin
It's
line.
a fine line, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
to try to identify that.
And it really boils down to experience,
Yes.
to have the flair to read people, to understand how far you can go or not. And totally agreed. Nobody talks about B2C and B2B and B2G anymore. People are talking about H to H today. It's humans
Human
talking.
to human.
Exactly. I mean, irrelevant of how big your organization is or on which floor you sit, you're still a human talking to other humans. And don't tell me no, because at the end, when we talk about subjectivity, and when you tell me I don't like red and I don't like blue, suddenly you're a human. So humans talk to humans. But the more we understand this from the get-go, the more the relationship is going to be successful and lead to amazing results. Because yes, we are talking to humans at the end, and that's what drives any business. No? So how good are we at what we do? Yes. How good are we at bringing it to the table, to someone else? That's what people need to challenge and understand, I think.
Yeah. What a great discussion, Ibrahim. As a final note, what advice would you give leaders that, they look at their business as a whole, back functions and the whole departments working together, not in silos? How do they bring the marketing with the HR, with the procurement, with sales, with finance? What advice would you give them, especially if they're thinking of scaling and growing and expanding?
Synergy. And synergy is driven by perception. And perception works internally, not only externally. The way I perceive my leader and they perceive theirs up to the owner, and then how it bleeds outside to the market, are all very closely related. And that's another thing we always say, how good you are and how well you are perceived are closely related. So building the right internal perception Start by building the right synergy among people. So procurement, marketing, HR don't work in silos, absolutely not. Okay, but we need to understand the role of each department, not internally, but in relation to other departments. And we need to understand that we are all part of one culture first, then of one organization and brand. Culture is such a big and dangerous world that very few organizations today are working on.
It can make or break.
It definitely can make or break. And it's so dangerous. And I'm using the word dangerous because very few leaders really understand what's happening, because they always look at the surface. Okay. But they don't look deeper. Successful brands are built on successful internal cultures. So that's the best thing that any leadership can do today when they look at their organization, irrelevant of how small or large it is.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you very much, Ibrahim.
Thank you, Sula. Pleasure.
It was really an interesting discussion. And thank you for all our audience. And until next time, success starts with synergy. Thank you.